Hello guys and welcome. It is Dude or That SW2 Dude here today bringing you yet another video. This video is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be somewhat of a rant video talking about a bunch of different things. Normally I do rant videos on my second channel known as Other Dude, but I personally think I'm wanting to upload this specifically for my main channel because I think it's a very important topic that we could all discuss about. And of course, since the Nintendo Switch 2 has just revealed that mouse functionality is going to be a thing for certain games, of course. But of course, I mean, this is a Splatoon channel. We want to know if our Splatoon game would be able to utilize mouse functionality as well as possible. Personally, right now, I think it very much can. But there's a bunch of things that we have to talk about. How functional is this going to be for Splatoon? And will, of course, the important question and the title of this video, will mouse functionality be superior to gyro control? Now, this goes quite all over the place. There's so much to explain, but I'm going to try and do my best to explain it to you as best as possible. Now, of course, if you're just joining this video and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about and you play other Nintendo games, or you're just playing other games just in general, you have no idea what gyro is. Let me introduce you, right? So Splatoon, there are two different controlling methods that you can use within this game. I'm going to show you one of them. So the first one is known as stick controls or twin stick controls. Now with twin stick controls, basically the whole thing about it is that you're only using the stick to be able to aim. Now there's one thing that I also got to mention. This game does not have aim assist. It doesn't have aim assist like COD or Halo or Apex Legends or Fortnite or anything like that. It is basically all raw aiming, right? So this is what stick controls is, of course, and you guys probably know all about it because you've known it from other games as well. However, in Splatoon, there's this thing known as motion control. And as you can see from the hand cam, just to give you just a good look at it, basically when I move my hands left and right, or my wrists left and right, and I move them up and down just like this, moving the controller, basically it's acting like the controller itself is like a mouse. Like gyro control, I like to explain to people, is like, it's like having a mouse and keyboard, but within your controller. So you basically have the precision of a mouse and keyboard within your hands and all that type of stuff. So currently right now, it's one of the most optimal ways to play Splatoon in general, because like I said, this game does not have any sort of aim assist. Everything is raw input and it is just how it is. And you can kind of see where I'm going with this because like I said, the Nintendo Switch 2 has now introduced mouse functionality, and of course, with a third-person shooter like Splatoon, will mouse functionality be more superior in comparison to gyro control? Now, there's so many things we have to answer, and I think we need to look at the functionality first before we even really think about adding mouse function to Splatoon 3 or Splatoon 4. How will this work? First of all, I think this is actually something that probably like only 5% of you have actually thought about. With this, I think we need to talk about what is on the right side of the controller, because of course, if you're right-handed and you're controlling the mouse with your right hand, what are you going to be controlling? So in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, they showed themselves using a JoyCon just like this, just controlling it and basically just doing whatever, you know, controlling it like a mouse. And of course, this is just a regular JoyCon, but of course, this would be a much bigger JoyCon, and just to, you know, show you this is how you basically would be playing Splatoon if that was the case. Now, what buttons are actually available when using a Joy-Con? Of course, you got the ZR button, of course, and you've got the right bumper as well. Much bigger in the Switch 2, but this is basically how you'd be controlling it. Like, you'll be using this to shoot, and you'll be using this to use your, I guess your sub-weapon actually. But would you be clicking in your special on the side of the mouse here? Would you be using these buttons as well? Like, how functional would this be? Like, of course, I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con, so I can't accurately show it, but could we realistically see ourselves controlling the game like this? Like, this would be our jump button. Remember, there's a map button here. The special button is here. Maybe on a mouse mode, you would have some different directional inputs where like you can use the stick to make yourself jump. Like you flick it up and it allows you to jump, and of course you have directional inputs on everywhere else with this analog stick. And I'm not saying that this wouldn't work, but it's just something to think about, and how comfortable would that actually feel? Because of course, when you're using a regular mouse, there's so many different things about it. Of course, you have the scroll wheel, you have the clicking thing of the scroll wheel, you have the two buttons right here, you have the two side buttons as well that are also available. It's just that when we're thinking about just a Joy-Con and where the layout of each button is, of course you have the two main buttons that you probably use the most, but like you have all these other buttons as well, I'm just trying to think, how would that feel to be using your thumb to click all of these? Like, it's like having, I'd have to say, like 5 different side buttons on a mouse, and that's personally for me not really used to that. But it'd be kind of like playing the game like it's a MOBA. That's one of the most important things that I'm trying to think about. So like I said, I'm not saying that this cannot work. Like, of course, like if you remap all the buttons and then make it comfortable for you where you can actually like apply all the actions that are necessary to actually perform everything, then that's more power to you. At least you can do that. But it's just going to be something that you have to really think about. And it's probably what the Splatoon developers right now are thinking about. Like, how can we make a mouse mode feel intuitive? Because at the same time, as they also have showed playing a game, Metroid Prime 4, using the mouse mode as well, they showed, of course, you using the mouse and, of course, holding the other Joy-Con in hand. You can definitely make this work. I mean, it's not the most awkward thing, but it might be awkward for some. But, I mean, just to let you guys in a little bit story, like, my God, this is like in 2005, I think. I had a gamepad and a mouse where, like, it was like my first laser mouse. And I think we were getting rid of our bull mice. Jeez, you remember, that makes me feel old. We had bull mice back then, but like, I got my first laser mice and I was playing in a first-person shooter game way back. Well, SRB2 actually, but Doom. That's the way to describe it. But basically what I did is that I had my controller and I basically mapped one half of the controller, or just one half of it, where the ZL button and the L bumper were an actionable thing, and then basically the other half was just not used. And pretty much just used my stick as my analog movement, and of course my mouse for everything else, for camera and all that type of stuff. So, and to be honest, it works surprisingly well, and I think it definitely can work. It's just going to be very awkward for a lot of you to use. Ideally, what would be honestly the best is that if the Nintendo Switch 2 had a keyboard, of course, like a keyboard accessory, but of course you'd have to map everything to your liking. Like, of course, keyboards, they come with plenty of buttons, as you can see here, plenty of buttons, but you want to make sure that it works all entirely perfectly for you, you know? I think that's the most important thing. And you know, I think what's going to be really interesting is that, personally, I don't think Nintendo would allow regular mice to be actually used. I mean, if they did, then cool, but at the same time, like, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to map the buttons perfectly on a regular mouse and all that type of stuff. So what would be more interesting, and I'm talking specifically to all the companies out there, or third-party companies like Hori or any other company out there, what if, just an idea, you made a right Joy-Con, but it was in the form of a Nintendo mouse? Of course, right now, there's no need for a scroll wheel, or if you wanted one, cool. But I can imagine like a mouse, I mean, just for an example, like the Mario Paint mouse. I mean, of course, not like that, of course, they could make it look a little bit better and more ergonomic for people to use, but just an example, the Mario Paint mouse had like 2 buttons on top of it, and let's just say that there were some buttons on the side, or just like specific buttons for the right Joy-Con and all that type of stuff. What if that was just the right Joy-Con, and of course you use the left Joy-Con as normal? I feel like with that, you'd be unlocking a whole new market. I mean, of course, depending on what games actually come out on the Nintendo Switch 2, which I feel like a lot of potential games could come out on Nintendo Switch 2. Well, of course, Nintendo comes out with themselves using their own right Joy-Con and all that type of stuff, but what if that was created? How good can a mouse like that actually perform? I think, personally, I think that could perform really well, as long as it's comfortable and it actually makes sense. Because I like the idea of the Joy-Con mouse, but I'm just really thinking about how comfortable is this going to be? Like, you can see, like, if I put my hands like this, how comfortable is this, you know? I mean, I've said it before, how comfortable is just clicking your fingers like this and then moving your hands like this? Like, when you have something like a mouse where it's just, you just grip onto it and it just feels natural to you, will this feel the same when using a Joy-Con, or will you feel like your hands are cramping up? I mean, obviously everyone is different and everyone controls things differently, but I think it's something really important to think about, because, you know, in the end of the day, you wanted to play this game and you wanted to play it comfortably. So I just think an idea of just like a third-party right Joy-Con mouse, and of course, maybe along with that, they have a keyboard as a left Joy-Con, and they control it like that. Like, imagine that was a product like that. Like, if there's any company out there listening to this and they would like to, like, maybe think about it, let me test your product, because I personally think that's like opening a whole new avenue specifically for Nintendo Switch 2. And if, of course, depending on how many games there are, I think it could work really well. Now, we've been talking a lot about functionality. Of course, that's very, very important. I think being able to feel comfortable is very, very important, which is going to kind of lead into my next thing. Will Joy-Con mouse, or let's just say that it was a perfect mouse that worked for Splatoon 3, Splatoon 2. Will that be more superior than just gyro control? I personally think it would go straight down to personal preference, because gyro control is as precise or almost as precise as a mouse, depending on how good the player is with it. I think currently right now, like if they were to add a mouse function or mouse mode for tomorrow, probably most top players or most players that have been playing competitive Splatoon for the longest time would probably still use gyro. There might be the fair few that would switch over and be like, you know what, I'm gonna use a mouse because it's more comfortable and this is just the way I want to play, as long as it works well. But I think with Splatoon, there's a couple of variables to it, because if you think about it like this, using gyro control and of course mouse updated, using gyro control and a controller, you have analog movement, so you can actually determine how fast or slow and have more precision over your overall stick movement, which I think this is also a very, very important thing. Let's just say that there was a keyboard or a left Joy-Con keyboard accessory that came with it and you're using a keyboard and type of stuff. I feel like with a keyboard, you're going to lose a little bit of movement or a few movement options with that, and it might not be, or it might not work as well for Splatoon. I mean, for Splatoon, there's actually just one thing that you can do when you're just swimming in ink, and when you're just slowly moving the stick forward and left and right, you have basically loads of control being able to move or determine which way you're going to go and not making any trails in the ink, because if I swim fast, there's a trail. If I don't, if I just swim really slow and I have the basically absolute movement of where I want to move, you're not going to be able to basically do this, you know? So with a keyboard, you're basically going to have to tap the keyboard's key, and it's not going to go exactly where you want. You're going to have to really like be, you know. Of course, that wouldn't be like the end all be all of things, and it's not. I'm not saying that one is better and one is not better, because I feel like with a keyboard, it would be a matter of being able to just adapt and use a different way to actually like move and stuff like that. Like, of course, like I said, tapping, that's basically going to be the way to do it. And it's not going to be like, you know, because now this person's doing this, they're able to like be the better game player in terms of Splatoon, which is just not going to be true, because of course there's so many other factors that go into Splatoon. But of course, that's just like a mini thing that you have to consider, that of course you won't be able to do that if you're not using gyro or a controller. So I think the difference would be when using a controller and using gyro. I think just overall, your whole movement, of course, even doing squid rolls and stuff and being able to tell or basically direct exactly where you want to go, I think your overall movement is always just going to be better on a controller using gyro. I think the one thing that mouse will have over gyro is just genuine precision, which I think, like I said, the gap is gonna be so close. Like, gyro is just so close to how a mouse inputs, of course, but of course it's undeniable that using a mouse is going to basically have the least amount of hiccups. You're not gonna have to redetermine your camera. You might not have to do any of that, because literally all you're doing is just moving the mouse wherever you're determining it at all. So that's basically the main thing. Honestly, I don't think there's really anything else. Like, the mouse is always just going to be way more precise than any other option there is there. And people will get good with it, but at the same time, when I'm thinking about it, this game, or the game of Splatoon, isn't all just about aiming. Like, it's part of it, but it's not the end all be all. Like, you have to have good decision making, good positioning, being able to understand the game for what it is, being able to know when specials come out and what specials to use and how things counter. Like, that's going to be the main thing of being able to win games of Splatoon. I feel like using either gyro or a mouse mode, or a theoretically perfect mouse mode input for Splatoon 3 or the next Splatoon game, it's going to be a personal preference thing, where some things are going to be good with this and some things aren't going to be good with this, but some things might be good with this and some things might not be good with this. And that's just how it's going to be. Like, I don't think one is going to be better than the other. I think it's just going to live in a perfect harmony, but still, I think if it is there in the next Splatoon game, I think it's just very, very good, because at the same time, it's just a new way to control the game, and it just allows more accessibility for plenty of people who want to get into Splatoon, because some people don't like gyro, some people certainly don't like sticks, or some people who play sticks currently right now can probably move on to mouse mode because maybe they'll feel more comfortable. Like, because at the end of the day, if there was a mouse mode, and of course there is gyro mode, stick controls would be even more of a handicap. I mean, it already is when gyro control is there, but with mouse mode and gyro, it's just like you're just always going to be at a losing battle if you run into any of those players. So I really appreciate the accessibility, and that's probably why there's no Switch 2 edition of Splatoon 3 currently, because there's so many, like I said, there's so many variables that you have to really do to make mouse mode functionality actually work. And like, of course, being able to label the buttons to be perfect and to actually feel good, that's probably something that needs to be very much extensively experimented so it actually works. So maybe they actually like come out with their own accessory as the Splatoon mouse or something. Like, come on, Nagami, you could do that. Like, it would be sick. So yeah, no, I mean, like I said, this is just a long rant of just many different things. And I think it's just a really important thing to talk about. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about this. If mouse mode would be good, do you think I hit all the variables that are actually important? Because I think I did, because like you need to make sure like you know how to special, how to jump, all that type of stuff. Maybe there's a variable that I missed out, and maybe you think you have an idea that you could, of course, put it in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion about it, because yeah, this could be a new thing in the future Splatoon. And of course, the Nintendo Switch 2 is how popular it is right now. I'm actually going to be playing on the Nintendo Switch 2 on the 11th, so I'm going to be able to actually try it for myself, tell you guys how the mouse functionality actually feels on other games, and how I think it'll feel in Splatoon and all that type of stuff. And yeah, I'll give you guys my input, and of course, feel out the input delay just so you guys know that it's coming from me, like if it feels good or if it doesn't. Can't play Splatoon, but soon. I mean, in June, we're so close. So yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. Let me know you guys' thoughts. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a future video. And of course, Splatoon 1 for a whole month is going to be happening in May. I'm going to announce it soon. But if you made it to the end of this video, you know it's happening in May. So thank you so much, guys. Hope you guys appreciate it. And what? Okay, well, I hope you do appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much.